Rogers TV Durham would like to acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation of the Mississauga Nation. May we respectfully honor the knowledge and understanding of the Indigenous stewards of these ancestral lands and ensure that the voices of the First Peoples are represented in our collections, programs, and services.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of At the Heart of Business. I'm your host, Judith Tate. At the Heart of Business is a conversation with women in business discussing their challenges and successes. My first guest today is life coach Olu Muili.
Perfect.
Perfect. I'm glad. I'm thinking, I hope I say that right. Welcome.
Well, you did. Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us all about being a life coach. What is that about?
Wow. Well, I just stepping into that realm.
Okay.
Although I feel like and believe like I've been a life coach my whole life.
Yeah.
But I'm just transitioning from being a senior corporate law clerk for many decades into being a life coach. Just something that I believe it's just been on my heart and a true calling.
Yeah. And what led you to the calling? What was that calling? What did you hear in that calling?
I'm always liking to help people.
Okay.
My goal is always to make sure people are okay. Mm-hmm. And I was noticing, especially right before COVID hit, that people weren't okay. Mm. Everybody was really, really tired. Mm-hmm. And they were letting you know that they were really tired. Mm-hmm. Usually people would say, if you walked by someone and said, "Hi, how are you?" They would say, "Fine, how are you?" Mm-hmm. Or if you're in church and you say to somebody, "How are you?" They would say, "Blessed and highly favored." Yeah. And you would, offer the same. And I found that shortly before COVID hit, if you asked somebody how they would tell you, "I'm tired. Yeah. Can't take it one more day." Like they would go into detail and let you know. And I was feeling tired. Mm-hmm. I was feeling sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. But I always wanted to make sure that people were okay. If you said to me that you weren't okay, I wanted to know why. Yeah. How can I help? Okay. What's causing you not to be okay? Yeah. So at the heart of it, at the core, I've always been a life coach. Yeah. Just didn't know that there was a label for it, a market for it. Yeah. It's just who I am.
Now, what was the transition like going from corporate to life coaching? Because now you're doing that as, a full-time business, on your own. Yeah. Like you're not relying on that corporate paycheck and benefits and even like the environment or the community. Yeah. What was that transition like?
What is it like? Yeah. It's scary, but you have to have faith. You have to believe in yourself and you have to have faith. And if not, then we would all just be stuck in that space of complacency because that's what happens to us. We get our job, we have our paycheck every 2 weeks and we rely on that. I know I did. Yeah. You know how you're going to pay your mortgage and your car payments and your insurance and all that comes out of your paycheck. Mm. So to go from not having that to relying solely on yourself and what you bring in, it's scary. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to lie, it's scary. Yeah. But I'm not as scared as I thought I would be.
Oh, good.
Like I thought I might be under a bridge, like kind of rocking in the fetal position going, oh my gosh. But no, you have to have faith. You really, truly have to have faith. You have to believe in yourself and rely on that God-given faith. And the talent that he gave you. And when I say it's a calling, it's when the Lord places it on your heart and tells you and shows you who you are. Yes. And you go, okay, lead and I will follow.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Was there any experiences, because you said that a lot of people would come to you and you felt like you were life coaching anyway. Was there any personal experience or experience of your coworkers that led you down this path of life coaching and made you really want to make that jump?
I just found that a lot of people always came to me. Yeah. With issues with their husband and boyfriend and girlfriend and boss and neighbor and siblings. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to my boss at one of the firms I worked at, when she came to my office to give me work to do, but there was somebody else in there complaining about their latest issue. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, "Come and see me when you're done." Mm-hmm. Which I thought was really weird since you're here to give me work and they're here to tell me about their problems. Yeah. So I went to see her afterwards. I said, "Why did you do that? You were here to give me work." And she's like it seemed important. And I said, "But people are always in my office. Doesn't that bother you?" And she says, "You listen." Mm-hmm. You know, people come to you and you listen and you hear them. It's like, I'm always in there talking to you about my daughter.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so you kind of park that. You don't really pay attention to it, especially if that's who you've always been. You just kind of park it and you move on.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but people will call me up and say, I need some Oluism or I need some real talk. And I say, okay, hold on, I'm cooking. Give me a second.
I love that.
Yeah, and I say, okay. And I will tell them if it's something that I agree with or not. I'll often say, yeah, I can't co-sign on that. Or you're not going to like what I'm going to say. This is my gut punch moment. Are you ready for this? Like, because I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people come to me.
Yes.
Because they need that
Yeah.
gut punch moment. That,
Yeah.
okay, tell me what I need to hear.
Yeah. And you're fair and honest.
I would like to think that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that I'm a fair person. I always say that I don't have to like you to disagree or agree with you. I can love you and say you were wrong.
Yeah.
And I can not care for you and I can say you were right.
Yeah.
You know, that was right. What you did was right. What you said was right. So I would like to think I'm a fair person. I definitely try to be fair at all times.
Okay, that's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course it's good. And that's why people come to you.
Yeah.
So as a leader, I'm sure you found that, well, in your corporate role and in your business role, you have to be a leader. You know, a leader for the people who look up to you, leader for your community. How do you stay true to your values as a leader?
I was going to say it's easy. You stay true to your values,
Yeah.
but no, it honestly is that simple.
Yeah.
You stay true to your values. You don't let them sway you one way or the other because that completely changes who you are.
Yeah.
And I will say to my daughter all the time, never give someone the power to change who you are.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I'm not gonna let you sway. My values are my values. They are what makes me who I am. That's what shaped me.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not, good luck to someone trying to,
Yeah.
to change my values. It's not going to work.
What would you say is one of your most core values? Like, just give me one.
Oh, again, I like to be fair. I really like to be fair. I don't know if I always am successful at that, but it's definitely my goal to always be fair. I think I'm a good listener. I think in order to help people, you have to be a good listener. So I like to make sure I listen and hear what you're saying before I respond. Some people listen just to form their response, so they're not hearing what you're saying. They're too busy forming their response in their head. And I want to hear your heart.
Yes, I like that. And that active listening.
That active listening.
Yeah, exactly. So do you offer any specific services in your business?
So I'm just starting out. So yes, I do have individual coaching that I do. I do see myself more doing a lot of group settings, retreats and seminars like the one I have coming up, or conferences that I have coming up. So I see myself more in a group setting, consulting, that kind of setting.
Okay. And what about this conference? Tell us about that.
Oh, let's talk. That again was something that was just placed on my heart, and you know that it was placed on your heart when it's organized and planned as quickly as this one was.
Yeah.
You know, you have that voice that says, that word that says, have a conference. And I say, what does that look like? Me? Have a conference? Who's going to want to hear me talk? Right? But then it came together so quickly in terms of guest speakers, venue, like just everything came together. So for me, that was just confirmation of the word that I had received of having a conference. So it's titled Let's Talk, about lessons we've learned.
Okay.
And a lot of what I'll be speaking at, but a lot of what I'll be presenting that day will be lessons I've learned along my journey called life, and how that shaped me.
Yeah.
And I recognize that a lot of women are making the same mistakes, are having the same roadblocks along their journey called life.
Yeah.
And I want women to understand that doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't define who you are. Your mistakes, your failures, they don't define who you are. They shape who you are, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So somebody said to me, what would make your conference a success? And I said, if one woman left there and said, wow, I'm okay. Who I am is enough. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not alone. That would be a huge success for me.
Aw. So in person, online?
It's all in person.
Yeah.
It's going to be held on Saturday, April 27th.
Nice.
It's going to be held in Ajax at the Velvet Season Studio.
Okay.
there's only space for 50 people. We're only selling 50 tickets.
Okay.
Sorry if my mother didn't get her ticket in time. Once it hits 50, it's 50. There's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
It's a really small, intimate space, and I wanted that because I wanted to look out and see everybody and connect with everybody and speak to everybody. So, yeah.
So I really love, because you said something earlier about how something just spoke to you to just do this conference. How do you go from not knowing how to do that to doing that? Like, that takes a lot of confidence, I would think, right? Like, what does that feel like? Is it a scary feeling, or okay?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. It's scary. It's confident. It's faith. It's a belief that you have in yourself.
Yeah.
I also love to plan events.
Oh, okay.
So
Good.
I'm an event planner at heart as well.
nice.
So I like to put on events. So that part is easy for me to put things together. But yeah, it's a little scary. It's a little, I have daily conversations with myself, like more freak out moments than conversations.
Love it.
What if the tickets don't sell out? What if you only have 10 people there? What if? And then I have to remind myself of all the promises God has made me.
Aww.
And then that talks me off the ledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, so I just picture myself at this event, at this conference, looking at 50 women and just telling them my journey, my story, the path I've taken, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. But most importantly, I grew from all of those experiences. What worked, what didn't work. I read somewhere recently that you don't learn from success, you learn from failures.
Yes.
And I was like, wow. So you take them all together, and that's who shapes who you are. I think a lot of time, women or people in general focus on their mistakes, the mistakes that they've made, and the failures and what have you, and they allow that to define who they are, as opposed to looking at it simply as a mistake
Yes.
or a failure in time. And moving on. So I want to impart some of that to the women who will be in attendance at the conference.
I think you'll do that for sure.
Thanks.
And how do you define success?
How do I'm really hard on myself.
Okay.
I'm probably my own worst critic. I think for me it's a feeling, when you feel that sense that you've accomplished something, and usually it's by way of helping others. Then you feel that you've done a great job. You can pat yourself on the back.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Especially when you see, like, you help others and you see their success, then you feel successful.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in, say, 2 years from now?
Having conferences all over.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, next year I want to have a men's conference.
Oh, look at that.
I want to have a men's conference. I already have had some people, when I mentioned it, say, I've got the perfect keynote speaker for you. I've got the perfect guest speaker for you.
Okay.
I met a young man a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, I'd love for you to speak at my men's conference. He's 22 years old, but his wisdom and what he has to say can relate to men in their 50s or 40s. So I thought, you'd be great for that. But I think there's a lot of programs for women, whether you go to churches or just online. There's a lot of support for women, and rightfully so. Great. I'm a woman. I love that. But there should be equal support for men, because if we're working on ourselves as women, and then we're all going home to men, who's working on them? So I want to know what troubles men have. How we can help. I will not be any of the guest speakers, but I definitely will host it, because I want to know what's on men's minds.
That's great. I think it's going to be great. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been great. Thank you for allowing me to come and share my story and talk about the conference.
Yes, it's been a lovely conversation.
Thank you very much.
And everyone stay tuned. We'll be up next with Jothi.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I'm Detective Graff. This is Detective Bateman. She had access, she had means, she had motive.
We need to win.
We're doing this my way.
Chicago brings out the very best in all of us. Sex, money, betrayal.
I feel strongly about so many of these women.
You're in the dream now.
Canada's Got Talent, $1 million season!
You're watching Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to At the Heart of Business. I am your host, Judith Tate. At the Heart of Business is a conversation with women in business discussing their challenges and successes. I'd like to welcome our next guest, Jothi of Jothi Creative Wellness. Welcome, Jothi.
Hi there.
Hi. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us about Jothi Creative Wellness.
Jothi Creative Wellness. We have a team of amazing wellness coaches that meet community, create safe and brave, courageous space for sharing and connecting around wellness, around somatic wellness, breath work, meditation, movement, different creative processing. And we also work in the corporate arena with workplace wellness. We feel like there's a space for diverse voices and diverse modalities of wellness that can be introduced to folks that perhaps you would never think of doing on your own. Yeah. So it's really a unique way, a unique blend, and we have both hybrid and in person. So it's a really wonderful mix of both.
All right. It sounds like a very unique, as you said, a unique type of business. How did you create this, or what was the motivation behind creating this business?
Well, you know, I've been on my own healing journey. I have a almost 17-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son. And when I became a mother, a lot of stuff came to the surface for me that from my own childhood, from my own adversities and experiences. And so in that, I really wanted to get out there and explore healing modalities for myself. Mm-hmm. And in that exploration, not only did I not find, I did find certain modalities that I resonated with, but I just didn't see myself in the spaces I was entering into. Meaning, you know, it wasn't diverse. I didn't see many different backgrounds and cultures and representations. So I just thought to myself, you know, that makes it even harder sometimes to open up and be vulnerable when you're not necessarily seeing yourself in the space. So for me, it was like an additional layer of healing, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I thought, I'd love to walk into a space where I see folks, racialized folks of color, women that look like me, so that I may feel a little bit less conscious and feel more seen and heard and supported in my story. Mm-hmm. And then the stories that resonate with other folks, right, within the space. And that's what sort of got me going. And then, of course, this layer of responsibility as a mother now that I have with two kids, I just found myself thinking, like, what do I want to pass on? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? What cycles do I want to break? How do I want to be a better mom and create a peaceful home for my children? Yeah. And that required for me to look in the mirror and do some inner work. So with that inner work, with the mom work, and then with wanting to create diverse spaces for wellness, it all just came together really, really organically. Mm. And I see that now that community really wants it. Okay. It's something that really, it's about time that we reclaim. As women of color, as folks of color, we reclaim the space for our wellness and really reconnect to our roots as well. Yeah. Because a lot of these wellness practices come from ancient wisdom. Yeah. So it's making those connections. It's really important. Yeah. Was there anything in particular, like a personal experience, that led you to this? Because you mentioned being a mom and all the different challenges, being a woman of color. Was there a particular experience that led you to start this business? I think it really was the birth of my children. It really was. It really, it opened me up in a way, right? It opened me up to seeing myself as a mother and that responsibility. And it connected to my childhood in a way that I hadn't connected it before. Oh, okay. And you know, that was personal responsibility of creating the change I need to see for myself, so that I can impart that on my family, you know? So I really think it was that catalyst. They were the catalyst. Yeah. Right? And that, it just opened me up to possibilities.
Yeah, often, you know, having children, it changes so much. It just changes your whole outlook on life. And then all of a sudden, like, you have this responsibility of raising this child into being a responsible and respectable human being in society. So I totally connect with that for sure. How is your business different from other businesses in the same space?
Well, first of all, it's very diverse, right? We have women and men and community from all walks of life. And I don't think I'm seeing that specifically out here in Durham region. So it's really important that we represent the growth of our community. Everywhere we look, we see each other, and it's so beautiful. I really want to hone in on this idea of wellness spaces being diverse and bringing in, culturally responsive and culturally sensitive content, as well as including people's stories and their backgrounds and where they come from. I think that really lends itself to how we were raised, how our communities gather, how we kind of cope, and with stress. I know in my communities we don't really talk about stuff. There's a lot of stigma around getting support, getting mental health support, even talking about our mental health. So creating this sort of courageous space for us to actually have these conversations, and some of us have had, these are the first times we're having these conversations. So this space really offers the opportunity for folks to have conversations that they may not be having in their communities or their families. So that's really beautiful. And then of course you hear the diverse stories and the different backgrounds. It's really beautiful to start to connect and understand each other in a way. And it's hybrid, so I really love the idea of offering the local community in-person space, but then also bringing a community from outside of Durham into a hybrid model, which is virtual. So it gives us a chance to meet people beyond Durham, but also focus on Durham communities.
That's good. I love it. I love hybrid. It's a whole new world we're in right now. It's great. So what are the many different services you would offer?
Yeah, so I'm a certified somatic trauma coach. So basically what that is I help folks, I support folks to use their body and their body's wisdom to help them to heal. And it's really interesting because we've been so far removed from our body, everything's very external. So I bring folks back to this attunement of their body. So somatic wellness or somatic experiences really bring us back to ourselves, back to listening. Your body will tell you when you're not feeling so great, and so just being more attuned. And then using the strengths of our body, our breath, movement, and touch to further enhance that healing. Oh, wow. So now you're bringing things to the surface, your body's recognizing some things, you've been holding some things. How do we now release? How do we meet ourselves and move that energy out? So the somatic experiencing, I also do a lot of neuroscience work, so rewiring our brains. We have a lot of patterns and belief systems and programming that sort of subconsciously play out, and we don't realize we're doing it. So it's let's notice, let's stop and notice our patterns of behavior and what's below the surface, what's happening below the surface in our belief systems, in the ways we see ourselves, and then start to write new programs, start to rewire and insert new patterns and create habits in new ways of thinking. So that's the neuro part. I'm an artist, so I use a lot of creative processing in my practice. So, I find that a lot of walls come down when we're drawing, when we're coloring, so how do we process through certain situations, circumstances, or experiences through the creative process. So we could be making art, we could be writing poetry, we could be just doodling, but how does that creative process play into this bringing down of the walls and becoming more comfortable, and then using art as a tool to sort of express ourselves, tell our story, maybe even reimagine a new story. So creative process comes in and interweaves, it is interwoven into my practice, and a lot of intuitive, very intuitive listening, right? Just really listening to folks, what they need, you know, reading body language, reading in between the lines, and meeting people where they're at, because expecting folks to sort of get it or move on or let go, you know, it's like, oh, why are you rehashing that? Let go. It still lives somewhere within our hearts, within our minds, within our body. So how do we start to bring those pieces together and allow for pathways of release and really move through it versus telling someone to get over it, right?
Yeah.
So it's very intuitive. It's a journey I go with on with my clients and with the corporate world. It's very interesting to see it come to life in the workplace, because a lot of folks are like, ooh, what are we going to talk about? But it's really about having conversations and putting folks at ease so that they can talk about it, bringing down the walls, you know? So there's a lot of vulnerability involved, and I think folks, it's really hard to go there. But if we create space, co-create space together for that to happen, for us to walk together, it makes a huge difference. I think folks just feeling heard and seen in that space makes a huge difference. It turns something on for them,
How would someone know to look for your services, or how would they know that they need your services?
Well, I think if you're, you know, if stress is spiraling you, you know, if you're in a spiral with you know, someone cutting you off on the highway, or being late somewhere, or your kid's not doing their chores. If you spiral, that means there's something deeper, right? It's an invitation to really, like, what's going on? If you're not sleeping, the physical manifestation, if you're not sleeping well, or your sleep is disrupted, or you have insomnia, or you're not eating well, just stress in general is causing more than just that moment of like upset. There's more going on underneath the surface. That's an invitation. It really is. And so it's up to you if you know, okay, do I want to explore this a little further? I need to know what's going on. I'm not sleeping well, I'm not eating well. And the little things are really stressing me out and taking me down like a spiral. It's time to get support. And I think asking for help can be the biggest step, really. It's like, I need help, I need to talk to someone. So, you know, it's an invitation. Just know that your body, your heart, your mind are telling you you need extra support, and it's okay. I think especially as women, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to receive help. I think we don't do this alone. We need community in our healing practice. We need community care, and that's what this is. That's what I do.
Oh,
yeah.
So what words of advice would you have for any woman starting their journey in business?
It's a few things, but I really feel like closed doors and no's and those missteps, those failures are not necessarily failures. They're stepping stones. So don't look at it as someone saying no as this is not for me. It's just another way. You're being redirected by spirit to go in a different direction, you know? And be determined and always look for collaboration, right? Partnerships, other folks that are doing something similar, or where you could use some wisdom, you know, and talk about yourself. Toot your horn.
I agree. Well, thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Thanks.
And great words of advice. Love it.
Thank you
Love
so
your
much.
services.
Thanks for
Love what
having
you're
me.
doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on another episode of At the Heart of Business.